If someone suddenly collapses right in front of you, would you know what to do? That person could be anyone. A stranger on the street, your gym buddy, your partner, or even your parents. In this video, you'll learn everything you need to know to help save someone from cardiac arrest or a heart attack. We'll cover how to perform CPR the right way, how to use an AED for both men and women, and how to give rescue breaths. You'll also learn the critical mistakes that can accidentally make a situation worse, like offering water or giving someone aspirin without knowing if it's safe. But before we get into the life-saving steps, you first need to understand the difference between a heart attack and cardiac arrest. Knowing which one you are looking at completely changes how you save that person's life. A heart attack is a plumbing problem. A blood vessel to the heart gets blocked. The heart starts to die from a lack of oxygen, but the person is usually awake. They're talking. They're breathing. They might be in pain, but their heart is still pumping. Cardiac arrest is an electrical problem. The heart's rhythm goes haywire. It quivers instead of pumping. Blood stops flowing to the brain. The person collapses. They stop breathing normally. They might make strange gasping sounds or no sound at all. Without blood flow, brain damage starts in just 4 to 6 minutes. Here's the crucial difference. A heart attack needs emergency medical care. Cardiac arrest needs CPR and a defibrillator immediately. CPR is an emergency life-saving procedure used to manually keep oxygenated blood flowing to the brain and vital organs until advanced medical help arrives or the heart restarts. It is the easiest and most effective help possible in that moment. A defibrillator is a device that delivers a shock to stop a chaotic, deadly rhythm so the heart's natural pacemaker can restart a normal, effective beat. Sometimes, the heart muscle quivers uselessly, pumping no blood. Sometimes it beats too fast to fill and pump properly. In both cases, a shock can help restore a normal rhythm. But once the heart stops completely, it cannot restart with a shock. In some cases, a heart attack can turn into cardiac arrest. That's why you must watch someone having a heart attack very carefully. Things can change in seconds. The signs look different. During a heart attack, someone might grab their chest. They might sweat heavily. They might say they feel pressure, like an elephant is sitting on their chest. The pain can spread to their arms, jaw, neck, or back. They might feel nauseous or short of breath. During cardiac arrest, they just go down. They are unresponsive, making gasping sounds. This is called agonal breathing. It is not real breathing. It's a sign the brain is starving for oxygen. Knowing which one you are seeing determines everything you do next. Someone at your gym says they have chest pressure. They are sweating. They look pale. What do? First, stop everything. Tell them to stop exercising immediately. Have them sit in the most comfortable position. Keep them still. In this situation, people sometimes hesitate to call emergency services or think about waiting to see if symptoms improve. But in reality, there is no medically safe wait and see window for suspected heart attack symptoms. If it could be a heart attack, call emergency services immediately. And if you're worried about causing a false alarm, understand this. Medical teams would rather check 10 false alarms than miss one real heart attack. Every minute you delay increases permanent heart damage. Stay with them. Keep them calm. Watch them closely because a heart attack can turn into cardiac arrest at any moment. If they become unresponsive or stop breathing normally, switch to cardiac arrest mode immediately. I'll explain that next. If they have prescribed nitroglycerin, let them take it. It's often given by doctors for chest pain. It helps widen blood vessels and reduce strain on the heart. Some emergency services may tell you to have them chew an aspirin while waiting for the ambulance, but only if they can chew and swallow, only if they are not allergic, and only if they don't have a bleeding risk. The safest move, call first, then follow the dispatcher's instructions. Why? Because chest pain isn't always a heart attack. It could be an aortic tear. That means the aorta, the main blood vessel carrying blood from the heart to the rest of the body, develops a tear in its inner lining. Blood pushes through that tear, forcing the layers apart. In that case, aspirin can make the bleeding worse and turn the situation even more critical. There are some signs that can help differentiate between a heart attack and an aortic tear, and you can read them on screen if you want, but following the dispatcher's guidance is always the safest choice. Now, the worst has happened. Someone collapses. They are not responding. This is cardiac arrest. This is where CPR and an AED become the only things that matter. First, make sure the scene is safe. Look around for dangers. Moving gym equipment, electrical hazards. It's important to confirm that the person didn't collapse due to something that could harm you as well. You can't help if you become the victim too. Check for responsiveness. Shake them gently. Shout their name. If there's no response, check for breathing. Look at their chest. Are they breathing normally or making those strange gasping sounds? Agonal gasping is not breathing. If they are not breathing normally, assume cardiac arrest. Call emergency services immediately. Put your phone on speaker. The dispatcher will guide you through everything. If other people are around, point directly at someone and give them a clear task. You call emergency services. You get the AED. Be specific. In emergencies, people freeze unless they're given clear instructions. Start chest compressions right away. Place the heel of one hand in the center of the chest. A quick clarification, don't think about pressing directly over over the heart. That can increase the risk of breaking ribs without improving blood flow. Place your other hand on top, lock your elbows, keep your shoulders directly over your hands, and push hard and fast. How hard? About 2 inches deep. How fast? 100 to 120 compressions per minute. That's about 2 compressions every second. Let the chest rise fully between each push. This allows the heart to refill with blood. If you haven't been trained in rescue breaths, don't worry. Do hands only CPR. Just keep pushing. Continuous compressions are far better than doing nothing. But if you do know how to give rescue breaths, it's simple once you understand. Tilt the person's head back and lift their chin to open the airway. Pinch their nose closed. Create an airtight seal with your mouth over theirs and blow gently for 1 second. Not hard, not fast, just enough to make the chest visibly rise. Remove your mouth, let the chest fall completely. Then give a second breath the same way before returning to compressions. Give 30 compressions followed by 2 breaths. Some common mistakes to avoid. Blowing too hard or too long can push air into the stomach and lead to vomiting. If you are untrained or unwilling to give breath, compression-only CPR is still life-saving for adults. But for children, drowning, or drug overdose, rescue breaths are essential. When the AED arrives, use it immediately. Turn it on and follow the voice prompts. Expose the chest. Wipe it dry if it's sweaty. Place the pads exactly as shown. One on the upper right side of the chest, one on the lower left side. And yes, this process is exactly the same for women too, but this is where many people hesitate. In an emergency like this, you might instinctively worry about privacy or feel afraid that exposing the chest could seem disrespectful. But in that moment, saving the person's life matters more than modesty. You might be tempted to slide the pads under the clothing to avoid exposing the chest. Don't do that. The pads need full, direct contact with the skin to properly analyze the heart rhythm and deliver the shock effectively. Clothing trapped under part of the pad or even the metal underwire in a bra can interfere with the shock or cause burns. Most AED kits include scissors. Use them if needed. Cut away the clothing so the pads can make proper contact with the skin. In some cases, the lower left pad may need to be placed underneath the breast tissue for correct placement and a clear reading. If you're worried about privacy, ask bystanders to form a circle or hold up jackets to block the view while you work. When the AED says analyzing, stop touching the person. When it says shock advised, make sure no one is touching them. Press the shock button, then immediately go back to compressions. Don't wait to see if it worked. Don't check for a pulse, just push. If the AED says no shock is needed, resume compressions anyway. Keep going until professional help arrives, until the person wakes up and starts breathing normally, or until you physically can't continue. Every pause in compressions drops blood pressure to 0. The brain is already starving. Pauses make it worse. That's why you minimize interruptions. That's why, if possible, you switch with another rescuer every 2 minutes. Fresh arms keep compressions deep and fast. And you have to keep doing that until advanced medical help takes over. Apart from these methods, everything else is either hospital only, unproven, or potentially harmful. But sometimes, people trying to help make very common mistakes due to a lack of knowledge. And those mistakes can make the situation even worse. For a suspected heart attack, do not tell the person to lie flat. I repeat, suspected heart attack. It can worsen shortness of breath, and if they suddenly vomit, it becomes dangerous. Never give them food or water to calm down. This can be risky if their condition suddenly worsens into cardiac arrest. Do not wait to see if it passes. Every minute of blocked blood flow kills heart muscle. Delaying emergency services is the #1 preventable mistake. Also, taking them to the hospital yourself is usually not the best option. An ambulance provides life-saving care on the way, oxygen, monitoring, early medications, and alerts the hospital to prepare. Only drive them yourself if emergency services are unavailable or the hospital is extremely close. But once the person deteriorates into cardiac arrest, focus only on CPR and the AED. There is no need to check for a pulse once cardiac arrest is confirmed. CPR alone is enough if you don't know rescue breaths. Some people think they should push gently, but shallow compressions do not circulate blood. Minor rib fractures can happen, and that's acceptable. Survival matters more. Do not be afraid to use an AED. It is specifically designed for untrained people to use in emergency situations. So if I had to summarize what to do when you see someone having a heart attack, call emergency services immediately. Make them sit in a comfortable position, observe them, and stay with them. If it turns into cardiac arrest, lay them flat. On the ground is best, and start CPR immediately. Tell someone nearby to call emergency services, and do not stop CPR for any reason, not even to call yourself. Start CPR as soon as possible while shouting for help. But if you are completely alone, call first, put your phone on speaker, and then start CPR within 10 seconds. Now, for those who are curious, let's talk about that sharp, pin-like chest pain you sometimes feel. It can happen on the left side, near the heart, or on the other side. It gets worse when you take a deep breath, then fades away on its own. What is it, and is it harmful? In most cases, it is precordial catch syndrome, a harmless and common sensation caused by temporary irritation of a small nerve or the lining between the ribs and lungs. It is not related to the heart. The pain is brief, lasting seconds to a few minutes, very localized and often triggered by slouching or a sudden change in posture. When you take a deep breath, it stretches the irritated area, making the pain sharper, but it resolves completely without treatment. This pattern is typically benign, especially in young and healthy people. Some people also wonder how blowing air air into someone's mouth can help. It might surprise you to know that we still exhale oxygen. The air we inhale contains about 21% oxygen and 0.04% carbon dioxide, while the air we exhale still contains around 16% oxygen and about 4% carbon dioxide. That remaining oxygen is enough to temporarily support a non-breathing person. In cardiac or respiratory arrest, the immediate threat is a lack of oxygen, not excess carbon dioxide. Brain cells begin to die within about 4 to 6 minutes without oxygen. Rescue breaths help by pushing oxygen into the lungs, where it enters the bloodstream and supports vital organs. Carbon dioxide removal is secondary. It happens naturally as the chest recoils and air moves out of the lungs. It's incredible if you think about it. Even the air we've already used still has enough life in it to sustain someone else. But all that science and all those percentages only matter if there is someone there, someone like you, who knows how to use them. Most people think situations like this are rare, until one day it happens right in front of them. It's the kind of thing you assume someone else will handle, or that help is always just a phone call away. But in those first few minutes, you are the help. Maybe you will never need this knowledge. I hope you don't. But if you ever do, those few minutes could become the most important minutes of someone's life. And that's exactly why you should share this with the people around you. Because if something like this ever happens to you or to someone you love, having even one person nearby who knows what to do isn't just helpful. It is the difference between life and death.